Alex. All right, Alex. So, how you been, man? Where you from?
Good, man. I'm from New York. I've been born, raised here my whole life.
Oh, wow.
Um, and yeah, as you can see, I've been playing the game for quite a while. I've actually been playing since season one. Um,
Wow.
and yeah, I think I could start just by giving a little bit of context on what I've been playing.
Hmm.
Um, I'm actually an ADC main. I was playing ADC from season one to season nine, and then season 10, I actually switched over to mid. Um,
Oh,
I've been as high as Diamond 1 back in season 3. I was playing with LCS players back then. I stopped playing the game for a little bit, and I've since been coming back and trying to pick up mid. I have been pretty much stuck in this plat diamond bubble for quite a while now, and just been trying to figure out ways to get back to where I was previously in season 3 and try to learn and improve at the game while I'm at it. So that's where I am.
right. So you're a bit of a veteran, man.
Yeah, oh yeah, totally.
No, that's awesome. So, how old are you out of interest?
I am 27. I
Okay.
just turned 27 this past year.
Okay, yeah, similar age to me. I turned 25 this year, so you're 2 years older than me. Okay, so
Gotcha.
yeah. I mean, this will be interesting then because obviously you've been playing the game for so long. I'm sure you have pretty good game knowledge, so it'll be really interesting to kind of see what is missing within your gameplay. But talk me briefly through your champion pool, Alex.
Yeah, definitely. I primarily play Zed and Syndra. As you can see, I've been spamming Syndra a lot of games recently. Um, in the past, I have been playing Yasuo a little bit, but I find that he's a little bit more difficult for me to play mechanically than I thought. Um, so I just been picking up Syndra a lot more. I also have played a lot of Diana and Echo recently, um, and I've also been starting to pick up Victor.
Right. So you would say at the moment it's Zed, Syndra, Echo, and Victor,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
Okay. What made you shift to mid lane out of interest?
Yeah. So as I was playing ADC a lot more, I found the game to be in such a frustrating state where I played well out of laning phase, carried that over into mid game, but the error for the the room for margin the margin for error for me as an ADC main was very, very thin.
Hmm.
Um, and it would kind of boil down to if I didn't flash a Malphite ult in one team fight, or if I didn't dodge one skill shot, it would actually end up me losing the game 90% of the time.
Hmm.
Um, so I kind of wanted to move to a lane where it was a little bit more mechanically forgiving, and it was a little bit more focused on macro play, and I found that
Right.
mid to be the perfect fit for that. So
So looking at your just immediately looking at your account, man, you have very nice win rates, and you've even got an overall nice win rate. And this says to me that you're still on the climb, very much so. Um, and even looking at your here we go. If we just look at this a month, look at this. Each month you've been climbing pretty consistently. Like you're still on the climb. Um, so I wouldn't feel too down about your current situation. It looks like you're doing quite well. I mean, obviously, we can speed up that process, but yeah, from the looks of this, you're not at your peak, um, even without this session. And the other thing that's interesting to me is that you shifted to mid lane and you went straight from 80 carries into assassins. Why do you want to tell me a little bit about why you end up choosing the champions that you did? Because I'm just trying to understand where your mind's at, the way you view the game.
yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean it's interesting you say that because in most of the games that I was losing at AD carry, I was getting blown up by assassins. So I was kind of interested to see what the other side of that might look like. Um, and it's just a lot of fun playing assassins on for me. Because I like to split push. I like to kind of clear the map of wards and look for a pick. Um, but as I started to play more games in high plat, I've started to realize that I need to get better at playing AP mages and control mages. So that's why I started to pick up Syndra, Victor, even a little bit of Oriana. Um, and it's funny that you say that I've been climbing recently. It's actually a result because of watching your videos a little bit, especially on the new coaching series you started. I've watched some of those videos and took away a lot of things. So I think that definitely contributed to me climbing recently.
Okay, that's definitely a good sign. Um, Now, in terms of your from what you've seen in your own gameplay, what are some of the things that you think are you would say weaknesses within your gameplay, or what are some of the things that you're actively trying to improve on?
I think jungle tracking is definitely an area of improvement for me. Um, I think within the first five or so minutes, I could jungle track fairly well. I do struggle a little bit against level two gankers such as Hecarim or Lee Sin, but for the most part, for the first 5 minutes, I'm good, and then after that, my jungle tracking starts to go a little bit downhill, and I die to some unnecessary ganks a lot of times. I think the second part is just keeping my intensity going even past the laning phase. As you'll see in this like next in the VOD review that we're gonna do, I do really, really well in the laning phase, and I start to lose some of that intensity and make some crucial mistakes in the team fights, and it ends up me losing the game. So, just keeping that intensity going and keeping track of all the crucial things in the game, I
Hmm.
think would be something that I could improve on.
Now, the VOD you sent today was Syndra versus Galio. Is this game here out of interest? Or is it another
Um,
one?
no, I think it's
It's
the
another one.
one. Yeah, it should be a little bit further down actually, but yeah,
Okay.
it was played yesterday. So
Was it this one? This one here? Is it this one? Oh, look, I think it is this one.
yeah, it is that one.
This
There
one.
you go.
Because I just wanted to quickly have a look at the runes before we kind of get into the game. So, talk me through your setup, man. What were you viewing? What were you thinking this game? To talk me through Ignite and Comet and all this thing.
Yeah, so I think the first place I was thinking about was my one-on-one matchup against Galio. Um, I don't think Galio has a really strong laning phase. He could definitely set up some easy ganks with all of his CC, but as Syndra, my goal was to bully Galio as much as possible, so that if we end up getting into a 2v2 skirmish over Scuttle Crab, Galio will be a little bit poked out with the Comet, and we could easily win that fight. So that was kind of my goal, and taking Comet. Otherwise, on other Syndra games, I'll either take Phase Rush, or I'll take Electrocute if there's a lot of squishies on the other team. But that wasn't the case in this game.
Okay. And Ignite. Talk to me about Ignite because you seem to take Ignite nearly every single game of Syndra.
Right. Yeah. So that's an interesting one. I think in hindsight, I probably TP would probably have been a better choice here. Um, but I took Ignite again just to kind of put some pressure on Galio, and um, I noticed there's two people with healing on the other team. There's a Nami and there's a Silas. So I just wanted to keep that Ignite just in case we got into a skirmish with Silas during the early phase.
Hmm. Okay. Um. Yeah. So you seem to go very aggressive. I mean, from everything that I'm seeing so far about your profile, both from the champions you play and even the rune setup and your approach, you have a very aggressive approach, which there's nothing wrong with that. That seems to be your identity, and that's something we can look at. In saying that, I am a big advocate of all-inning on your identity as a player. If you want to be more of that aggressive player, champions like Syndra really do complement that. And if you want to go down this common approach, that's completely fine. My concern comes in a little bit about this secondary page here.
Hmm.
Now, I'm personally, if you want to play very fast and aggressive, I'm just not a fan of like this and this. Doran's Ring and this. Okay, if we actually look at some of these games, let's actually look at your first bases a lot of the time. Even these games that are very, very fast. Let's just look at all of them. And we'll guarantee you something we're going to see here. Look at this. 5 minutes, first base. This one's double amp tomb. This one, first base, amp tomb refillable. This one, which one was the other one here? First base, amp tomb cloth armor. First base, boots and Doran's Ring. This one, double amp tomb. You're going for a lot of somewhat, not super, sometimes earlier than others, but relatively early. It's not like you're staying in lane to 1300 gold type thing. You're not staying in lane to tier 2 boots. You're not staying in lane for a considerable amount of gold. And it seems to be the case that you're either basing for extra pots after that, buying a lot of pots and buying refillable way later down the line, which is extremely inefficient, or you're buying refillable anyway after first base. This game is here. You're buying more refillable on third recall here. You're playing a very fast game, which I just really think in these situations, like, you're just going to benefit from Corrupting Pot much more. I don't see, because look at this. All of these games, if you're doing this very fast-paced, style-oriented way of playing Syndra, I'm just a massive fan of going Corrupting Pot, Time Warp Tonic and Biscuits, or Time Warp Tonic and Magical Footwear, any of them. I'm just a really big fan. And I think that the great thing about it, especially if you're playing this very lane-centric Comet style, is that if you want to, say maybe you poke them out, or even you get a kill, or gank set up with Ignite, or whatever you do, Dark Seal enables you to snowball. It enables your snowballing. And going Dark Seal after, if you start a Corrupting Pot, is actually, it just feels really, really nice. And you're not going to have to waste gold on Corrupting Pot and more refillables after that anyway. So you end up going to be, it's actually going to make it easier for you to get to your Lost Chapter and things like your first item, because you're not going to be wasting gold on extra pots and things like that. So that's something I want you to take into account and have a think about. That's a preference thing for me. It does feel quite nice. It's more of a feel thing at the end of the day. I'm a big feel player. And yeah, this style of playing fast but going Doran's Ring with this it's a little bit underwhelming to me. But if you like that extra sustain, because this, at the end of the day, this is a scaling rune. What this does, it allows you to sell your pots in mid-game, so you don't need to have pots heading into mid-game, and when you're on the side lane, that sort of thing, you're not going to need pots anymore. This is obviously good for laning, but Time Warp Tonic and Biscuits is just much better for laning, if that's what you want to do. And this, again, this doesn't really make too much sense to me, given that you're all-inning on the early game anyway, with your Ignite, with your Comet, and Scorch, you know?
Yeah.
So
No,
I'd
that's
rather you
fair.
just all in on it.
Yeah. Otherwise, I probably would have gone the inspiration tree. That makes sense.
Yeah, so have a go. I mean, again, it might not be for you, but try it out. And if it feels nice, continue with it. Otherwise, you don't have to. Now, the other thing I quickly want to talk about, and we probably will get into this within the game, but you're versing a very, like, Galio is a champion that has to play for ganks, and they have to play to lock you down in the mid game. You don't buy Mercs, and you don't take cleanse this game, and you don't even buy a Banshees. Now, I don't know how the way this game was going, and by the looks of this ending score, you have quite low CS and a lot of deaths. This probably says to me that either you maybe got ganked a few times, or you got into mid game and you couldn't survive. You kept dying. You didn't have flash, so you lost a lot of CS, that sort of thing. Or maybe even got zoned off CS because you're scared to walk up because of the gank setup, things like that. This is, again, sometimes the result of not either taking cleanse and taking a little bit slower, or just relying on your common poke alone, or not building a Mercs, or not building a Banshees. You have to at least do one of them. And if you don't want to commit a cleanse, or you don't want to commit for a full Banshees, at least Merchants at a minimum. And especially this game, since you're the only AP, Sorks isn't like, it's not super, super crucial. If there's two AP on a team, I do really like Sorks because it feels super bad to have like double AP and you're not building that extra magic pen through the boots. But this game, you don't really need it. It's a luxury. It feels good to buy it. But at the end of the day, I'd rather survive, you know?
Yeah, Banshees would have been really nice this game, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, benches would have been good against Silas and Galio, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's also something we need to think about because a lot of these games I'm looking at, even this game, you don't go. You're versing an Echo and a Zac and a Lux, and you don't go Banshees or Mercs. It's a lot of hard CC there. So it's just, I mean, that's just again another little immediate thing that I'm seeing here.
All right.
And another thing here, just quick while we're here taking a look at some builds. I am not a fan. I never want to see this, by the way. I never want to see you build refillable after first base. Ideally, you only want to be buying... If you're going to buy refillable, you got to buy it here. It is not worth buying refillable later down the track. It's an early laning. At this point, the lane's done. Like, if you're going to build it, you got to build it here. And the other thing, the main thing in here, you never... I hate this. This is such a... The reason this is dead now is because they nerfed it to the ground. You don't get the extra active item CDR. It barely contributes any gold towards your Zhonya's. And by the time it comes online, it's too late. Like,
yeah.
Zed's already gotten 2 ults off onto you or whatever, you know? It's very low value. So if you do want to play a bit more aggressive, and never go Time Warp Tonic with Doran's Ring as well. It doesn't make any sense. But if you do want to adjust your setup for Zed, I would probably either just go Time Warp and Biscuits. Actually, I've got a theory about this. Actually, I want to quickly share with you before we get into the gameplay. I have a theory about versing Assassins sometimes as Syndra. Now, the way I view it, there's 2 options. You go for the full minimize scale approach where you go phase rush. Sometimes you go like exhaust or TP or even barrier. Like very defensive. I'm talking defensive. And sometimes you'll build maybe an early, like a Seekers or whatever it is. The great thing, and then that's when you would probably go something like Gathering Storm or whatever. So that's something where you would scale very nicely, and all your job is to minimize. Control the lane, TP back, make sure they can't roam. You're not going to kill them at all, but then you're just going to scale. The downside of that is a lot of the time they're just going to ignore you. You can't kill them, but they can't kill you, sorry, but you can't kill them, and they're just going to push and roam. Or they're still going to be quite strong in mid-game because Assassins scale quite well at 2 items. Conversely, the other option, this is option 1. The other option when you verse Assassins is actually just go the full damage approach. I actually way prefer Electrocute versus melee matchups in general. Electrocute versus Zed makes more sense. And you just go to Zed, I'm talking Zed, Fizz, Silas, something like that. Whoops, Silas. You go Electro and Ignite. And the theory is that your offense is your defense. So you have so much threat that Zed doesn't want to all in you because you just, with your Q, Alt, E, Ignite, Auto Attack, whatever, you actually just one shot. So your offense is your defense in that sense. So that way, you're actually generating space, not because he can't kill you, but because you can always kill him. And it is a little bit harder to execute sometimes because, yes, you are incredibly squishy and you got to be quite careful. But if you are confident on Syndra, I found that to be a very nice, another equally viable way of versing Assassins. Sometimes that's also got to do with the jungle matchup. If you feel like you got a decent jungle matchup, which in this situation you do because Warwick's quite an aggressive early jungle. So, and again here, I'm starting to see a trend where you're going Time Warp Tonic with Doran's Ring start, which is a bit of a trend here, which doesn't do anything. You don't want that.
Yeah.
Cool. Any questions before we get into the gameplay?
Yeah, I think what you just broke down, that defensive flex and the offensive style, I definitely resonate a lot more with the offensive style. I like playing with fire a little bit like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of executing well, and I think in that case, I didn't know about the things that you talked about, so I'll definitely start to incorporate some of those into my gameplay.
Cool. All right. So let's the last thing is like, yeah, again, the way Comet works generally is that Comet is good if you're taking short Q poke trade. So generally you take comment into matchups where you're not going to be able to take extended trades because they're too high range. That's why you generally see comment into champs like Victor. Sometimes you take it into Cassio. Sometimes you take it into like Xerath, Vel'Koz, Ori. Like a lot higher range matchups. Cass, you can actually go both because it's kind of like a mid range matchup. Whereas Electrocute is taken more into mid range matchups, or mid to low range matchups like Zed, like Fizz, Zoe, Ari, Vlad, Rise, all like matchups that have a quite low range where you can reliably proc it. Again, it's to do with that trading pattern. Because again, if you're versing a high range, you're only going to be able to get Qs off. If you're versing a mid to low range, you're going to get a full combo off a lot. You're probably going to get autos off as well, and it's going to be a lot easier to proc that Electrocute. And Electrocute just does more damage overall if you can reliably use it. And then Phase Rush is the in between, where I mean it's the extreme where you just kind of play for self peel, and in the sense you can still use Syndra Phase Rush in offensive purposes as well for short trades, where you just do your short burst, you trade them back off. So just a bit of theory there for you to kind of dwell on.
Actually, there's one question I have.
Sure.
If you go up a little bit, let's see. Yeah, that one right there.
This one.
So yeah, what page do you usually build against Fizz? I've been going nullifying orb a little bit. I have a lot of trouble against Fizzes, so I'd be curious to hear what your build usually is.
So I actually in my one of my recent coaching sessions where I coach a platinum Oriana. I talk a little bit about the way you play the waves and like the gameplay. Because I'll talk first about the gameplay and then we'll tie that back into the setup. So generally, my there's two overarching ways to verse Fizz as Syndra. The first one is to slow build waves to poke under tower. So maybe you would get a slight minion advantage level 1 and level 2. In between these waves, as the first, maybe the second wave is crashing, or depending how many waves you build, depending on if Fizz thins it, you can actually ward quickly on one side to lean on one side, and then which is going to allow you to poke the whole time under tower. But the downside of this is sometimes what people do is they forget to ward as the wave is building in. So when the wave crashes under tower, like say this is the tower here, the circle, and this is all the minions, then you're like, oh wait, I'm too scared to like poke under tower because I don't know where the jungler is and I can't lean. So this is why you need to get that ward under. Now, if maybe you're versing a jungle that you can't, maybe you're scared to push up and poke under tower, something like a Rek'Sai, Elise, Lee Sin, whatever. I found that this strategy can actually be detrimental because then Fizz catches all this CS on the tower because you're too scared to poke, and then it's going to slow build out, and then Fizz is going to heavy trade onto you, get the wave out, and recall for an early Dark Seal or a Dorrans or whatever, which is kind of annoying. So it really depends on the jungle matchup in that case. And then round two, the other option is you actually hold the wave kind of... all you do is last hit with auto attacks. You literally last hit with auto attacks, and your Q should be very careful. You should say this is like the minion wave is here. You should only be looking to Q Fizz only, not hit the minions. Because if you Q the minions as well, it's going to just start to slow push again. So the theory with this one is you want to keep the wave in the middle as long as possible. And then what's going to happen is that if Fizz is like level 2, level 3, and the wave's in the dead center, he's either going to AoE it with his E, and it's going to slightly come onto your side, in which you can literally walk past the minions, because Fizz is not going to have enough room to chase you down the long lane, like chase you down the lane, because you're going to be so close to your tower. And in this case, you can actually get a lot of poke and a lot of kill threat down onto the Fizz, because a melee champion like Fizz isn't going to be able to unbreak a freeze. Or fully turn the slow push to crash it into tower. So that's the best case scenario. But a lot of the time, sometimes it's actually dependent on the way Fizz plays it. If he complete respects right, level 1, say like level 1, the wave's crashing in the middle, and he doesn't touch it at all. Say like this is the wave here, and then whatever. So this is like your wave, this is his wave, whatever it is. If Fizz actually just sits all the way back here and doesn't auto attack at all, and even if you last hit, it's actually going to slow push, because even that slight last hitting is going to slow push it into Fizz. And in this case, again, it's going to slow push, so you just have to go for strategy A, the first strategy, which is a bit annoying. But sometimes these fizzes, if they're bad, they'll actually try and walk up. Maybe they'll last hit once, or maybe they'll use their E to dodge an ability, and they'll kind of hit the creeps or whatever. And that's really good for you. Then you keep it in the middle, and at level 2, level 3, you can actually start getting poked down because you're not going to be scared. And the wave's not going to be on Fizz's side of the wave. Now,
Right.
the whole idea of this is that by around 3:15, when the scuttle spawn, you don't want Fizz to have the wave pushing into you. You actually want the wave in the middle or slightly push into Fizz so you can back up for scuttle fights as well. That's something to take into account. Now, in terms of the rune setup and builds, again, there's those two options. It's like you either want to play for. It depends how you want to play it. Do you want to play to minimize and scale, or do you want to play to abuse the laning phase? Now, Syndra is actually a hard matchup for Fizz in the early game. It's actually is really quite hard. It only gets good for Fizz if Fizz can minimize the entire early game. Even at level 6, it's quite hard for Fizz if the Syndra plays it well and keeps the wave in a decent position. So, I personally, I actually like to go, if, say, I'm not versing a heavy dive, like, say, I'm not versing, like, a super heavy dive comp, I will just go, like, I'll actually just go Electro Ignite. I would go Electro Ignite, and then, play for, like, be quite aggressive in the early game, and then actually go for an early base. I would actually start Corrupting Pot with Time Warp Secondary, and I'll, like, you know, really try and put the heat onto this Fizz. And then, on my first base, I would go for a Dark Seal, and then maybe I'll go for another early base after that, go for an early Null Magic, and I'll sit on a Null Magic Mantle. That's one strategy. If I'm versing more of like a more annoying composition where I know that I need the self-peel, in that case, and I can't really afford, or maybe the jungles are aggressive and I can't afford to play aggressive in the early game and punish Fizz, then I'll actually go Phase Rush, and I'll take Barrier or Exhaust. Probably Exhaust. I like Exhaust a little bit better. I'll probably take Exhaust or Barrier. Either of them are fine. It's just preference. And then I will play even TP, depending on the elo I'm in. If I'm in high elo, probably Exhaust Barrier. But if I can get away with TP, TP's nice. And then just play for like play to minimize early game. Punish. You can still punish. Like you'll still punish, but you won't be able to like kill. And then you you just kind of farm nicely and just deny as much CS as possible by poking with Qs whenever Fizz walks up. So they're the two strategies. But one thing I do recommend in both situations is sitting on an early Null Magic Mantle. That early Null Magic Mantle is actually going to be the difference between you surviving that all-in at level 6 and not. Okay?
Right.
Very important. And the main thing what you need to do versus Fizz is that you've got to be very careful with wave location. Wave location is the name of the game in that entire matchup. Generally, these are two areas you want to be careful of. The first thing you need to be careful of is when you are poking under tower, and the Fizz is maybe even if you've poked Fizz to like 50% HP or something, Fizz is going to heal up with Corrupting Pot or whatever they started. That use both pots, even if it's double pot, Doran's, 2 pots, whatever. Then they start healing up. As this wave bounces out, they're actually going to start to they'll start to trade onto you and look to chase you down the lane and dodge one of your abilities with E, and then maybe chase you down and look for a solo kill. Or they'll trade onto you, either wave, auto attack the wave, take a really bad trade, then Q back out and insta recall for an early Dark Soul or another Dorant or whatever. In which case, that's kind of annoying. And the other situation you got to be a little bit careful for is at level 6. You got to be super careful because at level 6, if you're deep in the lane and you don't have exhaust or you're not really comfortable in surviving that all in, that is like the most scary part. So in those situations post 6, I really like to keep the wave in the middle as much as possible. I don't want to keep it directly on my side unless I know that Fizz can't roam, because Fizz can a lot of time can just ditch and roam. But ideally, slightly on my side / in the middle. That's ideally what you want to be doing. And then again, poking with Q every single time Fizz walks up, holding your E, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'll probably do something similar against the Echo matchup. I struggle a little bit against Echo as well.
It's similar to Echo. Yeah.
But yeah, that makes sense. I'll start to use that.
So like against a lot of these matchups, you don't need to try and push. A lot of the time, I just try and keep it in the middle if possible. and just play like very calculated and value my CS, because I know once I get to Lost Chapter, I can start to really put the hurt on these champions. But both these matchups, you can abuse levels 1 to 3 super hard.
Yeah.
And if you abuse your 1 to 3, then the 3 to 6 becomes even easier. And then if you abuse 3 to 6, then the 6 to 9 becomes even easier. So each of these are like they're like levels, right? If you fail to punish levels 1 to 3, then this 3 to 6 becomes quite hard, because then they're going to be so healthy at 3 to 6 and have both pots. So then that's where they actually get, because both of these champions, Echo and Fizz, come online at level 3. Now, if you've poked them correctly by level 3, they're not going to be high enough HP to be able to actually trade aggressively onto you.
Yeah.
Because that's how a lot of these champions get tempo resets. They aggressive trade onto you around level 3, level 4. Echo actually likes level 4 because you put 2 points in Q, and then you have 2 points Q with 1 point W, and you can start to play quite aggressive. Now, then if you fail that, it actually snowballs. So if you fail this, you're most likely going to fail this, and then they're going to get decent amount of gold, get to revolver, things like that, and then you fail this. But again, conversely, like I said here, if you actually do well levels 1 to 3, then this will be very easy, because they're going to be so low, they're going to miss a lot of CS, they're going to have a really bad base. It's going to, then at their level 6 spike, when they do get to level 6 and Ignite, they're going to have such trash items that they're not going to be able to 100-0 you. Then if they fail that 100-0, then you're in the clear. Then you just start pumping.
Got it.
So that's the way you got to view it.
Cool.
Levels 1 to 3, very important. All right, so let's get into the game. This was a game you played, which was Syndra versus Galio. Well, let's actually quickly take a look at the jungle matchup. See if you press tab. So you have a Graves, and they had a Silas. Okay, so Galio went Aftershock with TP, so he has TP advantage. There's a top Yasuo with Ignite, and you have a Fiora. A lot of kill threat bot. You have Leona into Anami. Overall, it's a pretty good game for Syndra. There's a lot of squishies. The majority of the threat's going to come from that Galio. As long as you can avoid that Galio and play around the Galio, you're probably going to have a decent time. So what I want you to do, we'll play it out. I want you to kind of step me through what you were thinking within this game, and then I'll kind of make some points. We'll go back and make some points over the top.
Sounds good. Yeah, so this early laning phase, as I mentioned earlier, I'm just trying to poke out Galio. I'm audio tagging early just to get level 2 really quickly. Poking Galio whenever he walks up for a CS like that. And I know Silas started red because we warded his blue and he's not there. So right now I could play a little bit aggressively and for quite a while, because I know Silas's wave or jungle clear is pretty slow. So again, just trying to put the pressure on Galio as much as possible, and zoning him off the wave as much as I can.
Okay.
Yeah, so I forgot to smart cast E here.
That happens sometimes. Happens to me sometimes as well.
Yeah.
Should I have the sound off because you said you would Joy, right?
You could just have it really low.
Okay, I'll put it on low.
Yeah. So again, just poking.
Yep. Did we see Silas there?
Yep.
He sweeped it. The fuck?
And my duo communicated that he was going to look for some early aggression under Silas, so I'm also trying to push a little bit to get some prio to give him some of that freedom to make those plays.
Okay.
I think I could play a little bit more aggressively here. Yeah. See that?
Yeah, I'm good. He has no flash.
All right. Just a few little things I quickly want to comment on here before we go any further. So, first thing I want you to understand about Galio, and this is probably this will maybe make a little bit more sense as you understand Galio, but Galio is a champion that really struggles in the early game versus champions that have a strong level 1. So the most annoying thing, I don't know if you've played it, you might experience this sometimes when you play Zed to a certain extent. Sometimes Galio and champions like Zed and Galio, they actually don't mind getting pushed in level 1 and losing the level 2 advantage purely because it means that the wave is going to be pushing into them quite relatively quickly. Now, I don't feel like you need to auto attack the wave like this, because what this is actually going to do, it's actually going to start pushing towards Galio relatively quickly. Now, if you were to just leave these creeps, maybe auto attack it once or twice. So if you auto attack one of them once or twice, then you know it's going to be easy for you to last hit them with auto attacks, given that they're going to be HPs are going to be staggered. Because what happens then is that Galio, the wave's going to be in the center, and then you can actually start walking up quite aggressively and throwing Q onto this Galio, and then Galio's going to be like, wait, oh, this is so annoying because I want to last hit with Q, but then if I last hit with Q, the wave's going to be sitting in the middle for such an extended period of time, and then it gets really awkward because then if Galio has to sit back from a distance and last hit with Q, then he's not going to be using any Qs onto you, and most likely he's going to be actually missing a lot of CS, and then it gets really, really awkward. But what you've actually done here by pushing, you've guys basically kind of given him a bit of a get out of jail free card in the sense that the wave's going to be on his side, which is good for two reasons. I mean, it's decent because he can actually auto attack the creeps. You can't, you're actually a lot more vulnerable to ganks,
Right.
and it's just easier for him to CS essentially. You kind of see what I mean there? Like, if the wave's just sitting in the middle and he sits from a distance throwing Qs, it's just really, really hard. And you can actually keep the wave in the middle and actually start walking up past the wave consistently.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I usually follow the same thing as Zed. I'll just let them push the wave to me, and I'll just CS some power.
You see that when you play Zed, right? It's like, if they
Yeah.
kept it in the middle, it's actually more annoying sometimes.
Right.
But there's something to think about, because since you're a Zed player, you can kind of resonate. Now, the next thing here is that if your duo is looking to do this invade sort of thing, then I think you should be leaning on the top side. Because there's no reason to be leaning on the bot side. Like you said, your Graves wants to go for an aggressive play. You want to get to that play as fast as possible. You want to get to that play before Galio. If you lean over here, this just means, that means Galio's going to be pushed to this side, and Galio's just going to get to that fight first. So you got to be a little bit careful with where you're leaning, and especially if you're duo with your jungler, you want to get there first. So when I saw you do this, I mean, I like that you don't ward, because generally this is a time where I would probably ward if you weren't duo and you didn't have that ward on the blue, and you didn't know that your jungler was going to do an invade. But given you know he's going to do this invade, look at this. This could have been a bit sketchy here. Imagine if Galio didn't E here, held his E, Silas actually sees Graves, and then Galio just goes straight this way. I mean, I don't know. Might not have changed anything. Maybe Graves actually wouldn't have burned the flash, because Graves was only able to go very deep because Galio actually just used the E forward randomly like this and actually just missed it. So that's just little things there. There's just jungle awareness and playing towards your jungler. The only scenario in which you would lean to this bot side is if your jungler was looking to set up a gank on mid, because that, if you lean this side, then they're going to be more inclined to lean on the opposite side. That's the only situation. So, not too bad though. And here there's no reason to path like this. Like, you want to be getting back to mid as soon as possible. You kind of put yourself in a bit of a sticky situation here. Cam. Ooh.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Like, this was all as a result of this. Like, there was no need to commit. Like, the play's done. Like, Silas is out of the fight. Galio can't chase. There's no... Like, you just go back mid right now.
Yeah.
Now as well, the key to versing any champion with a major gap closer is, again, your E. If your E is down, you're very vulnerable. So you need to be very cognizant of your E cooldown.
Yep.
Get full comboed. Worst case scenario here, and then you take the auto attack, the tower damage. So now we know Silas is going to be going probably onto those Raptors or Krugs or bot River to get that bot scuttle, especially since bot's losing. So you should probably be leaning onto the top side here. Because you're quite vulnerable. Galio can actually just flash taunt you into a kill here. Another thing I want you to keep in mind, and this is something I will mention a lot, is that Aftershock cooldown is quite high. Now, Galio has no Aftershock. That's something you should keep in mind, especially when you verse any Aftershock user. So now I want you to kind of just step me through what you're thinking in this situation.
Yeah, so I actually thought Silas would probably reset here. I saw that he was pretty low. He could have gone bot side, but my thought here was he reset.
Okay.
So at this point, I didn't even think about leaning towards any one side. I thought, yeah, I'll just play safe a little bit. I got chunked just now, so I'll heal up. And again, I'll still look for pokes on Galio. And if I have a resource advantage, I'll start to play a little bit more aggressive from that point forward. But at this point, I thought Silas went home, and eventually I'm going to have to start to ward one side and lean towards that side.
I'll tell you what makes me think that Silas didn't base or doesn't base. I mean, I might be wrong. He might base, but what do we see? Is that Silas has double boss and most likely has flash. I mean, not flash, smite. That's very soon. And more importantly, Scuttle's coming up, and the bot lane's winning. So Scuttle is a camp. Why Scuttle's so good for junglers is that it gives you so much time to heal. It doesn't take you to get. I believe you get HP from it for killing it or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it's mana. But more importantly, you don't take any damage. You can heal a lot, let your red buff do the work. And you generally want to be trading a Scuttle in the early game. And especially since you have red buff, you're going to be fine. So that's just something to keep in mind there. And he got the W off there as well, so it's not too bad. Okay. Now, in this situation, okay, right, what do we see right there? What do we see? Galio just went there, stopped, and then turned back.
Warded.
Guarantee there's a ward there. So ping that's warded. And the other thing you need to be thinking about as well is Galio has TP advantage over you. So you're in a bit of a sticky situation. You haven't really punished that hard in the first 4 levels. You've actually been quite punished. Galio has teleport. You got to be very careful about how you're going to get a recall. So if anything, I'm actually thinking, all right, in this situation, given I'm probably not going to be able to kill this Galio in the next, given that, I don't have, I mean, I'm not that healthy. Galio's quite healthy, has the spell shield as well. Like, I don't think I'm going to be able to kill. What I will be able to do, I will get a little bit of control, and I probably can maybe get a wave out and base on a cannon wave, come back with maybe a second Doran's, maybe sell this for a refillable, get a pink, or maybe even sit on a null magic mantle because you want to get early mercs this game, in my opinion. Something like that. But you got to be careful, because if you just autopilot this lane from now on, or just sit even, you could get kind of screwed, because Galio can easily TP back, go for a quick reset, and then, yeah. So that's something you got to keep in mind in any situation where you're when you're versing TP advantage. And this is also why with Ignite is you got to be very careful. This is actually why I would never I would stray away from Ignite versus Galio in general, because you're forced to kill Galio, and killing Galio is quite hard, in my opinion. Like, I feel like if Galio plays it correctly, and it's, given that you're getting higher elo now, I don't think you should be able to solo kill him with Ignite. And Ignite, so the way Ignite works, right? Ignite is a summoner that is good if you're better than your opponent. As you're getting higher elo now, you say you've been hovering around this level for a little while. You're probably not going to be too much better than your opponents in terms of 1v1 micro wise. So yeah, I would sometimes, if you're unsure if you're going to be able to solo kill your opponent in some of these matchups, I would probably stray on the side, be the safer side, and go something like cleanse against Galio, or even just TP. And actually, I want to experiment with Ghost on Syndra as well, because I think Ghost on this next patch is quite strong. And Syndra's a champion that
changes.
Yeah, because I actually think Ghost would work really well on Syndra, because she's a champion that wants to reposition in fights, play around cooldowns, and continue. If you kill someone, the Ghost gets extended, and then you can keep running forward. So I think Ghost actually is something I want to experiment with Syndra as well, to be honest. Okay. So Silas actually did stay, by the way. Look at that. Silas actually showed bot
Mm,
right there.
right. So you
So
must have
now we
went for
know.
it.
Yeah. So now we know that. I'm assuming Silas has got that scuttle. Maybe going to Krugs right now or something. Alright, I'll let you. I'll stop talking for a bit and let you kind of walk me through this. Kind of want to know what you're thinking now.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I think I'm still looking to poke here. I noticed that he used all of his pots and he's pushing out, so I'm trying to punish him a little bit on that. Um, didn't think Silas would be here, so but luckily I kind of veered and flexed towards my tower, so I was able to avoid his E. But yeah, here I'm just looking that he's like pushing the wave, and I was trying to punish him pretty hard for that.
Yep.
Yeah, here I look for a reset because I know he has TP.
Yeah, I like it. I think this is a good reset. There's either one or two options here. It's actually either you get your jungler to come help you push this out or hover you, or you insta recall.
Right. Yeah, and then here,
Feels so bad, man. Like, look at that. Like, there's no way you're gonna sit on one pot. You know what I mean? It's not like that one pot's gonna like be the only pot you need. You know?
right.
It feels the only situation where you start two pots and then you only buy one more is if like you only used one in the first element, so you still have one left over here, and you're hard winning, and you know that like it's a stomp and like they can't trade onto you. It's very one sided. In this situation, this is a heavy trading matchup. Like Galio is going to get damage onto you no matter what. This is a heavy trading matchup. This pot is no way going to be the last pot that you need. This is going to be a fast-paced lane as well. You're going to be basing quite often. So this is a situation where you either go double Dorans into a refillable, Dark Seal refillable in a pink, or Null Magic Mantle in a refillable, something like that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Get your resources back. Okay. So we can probably assume now that Silas is recalled and going back onto his bot side.
Yep.
Okay, Galio comes back. Did you look at his itemization? Or did you...
Yeah, I did.
What did you see here?
Um,
If you remember.
yeah, so he went Amp Tome and he went Boots. So when I saw the Boots, it kind of gave me the impression that he was looking to set up a roam either top or bot. And I thought that even more because he also it didn't seem like he TP'd back to lane. It seemed like he just walked back.
Yeah, yeah.
And right now he's just pushing the wave. So that's what triggered in my mind that he's looking for a roam once he reaches
Okay.
level 6. So
This says to me that nothing to do with rooms. This says to me that you generally see tier 1 boots in matchups that are very skill shot oriented. So when you're versing any champion, especially Syndra, it doesn't matter what champion I'm playing, I love tier 1 boots. Or sometimes even tier 2 boots. I'm assuming that you verse players that rush mercs against you as Syndra, and it feels really bad because you can't hit skill shots. It's much harder. The
yeah.
movement speed and the tenacities, that sort of thing. So this is generally what you're doing against skill shot oriented matchups.
Oh,
Now,
the other thing I actually noticed, forgot to mention, he didn't buy any pots. So
yep.
I was
That's
looking
what I was
to
just about to say.
play really aggressive from here on out.
Dude, this is just such a big problem in Platinum, man. Like, I see this, like, nearly every single coaching client that I've had in Platinum has a problem with itemization and pots. Like, it's out of control. And this is ridiculous. Like, this is the worst recall I've ever seen on Galio. Like, this is really bad. Well, just look at it. You're a melee champion in a heavy trading matchup with 0 pots. Right?
Yeah.
This doesn't offer you anything. Like, at least go, like... Yeah, you need refillable. I just don't understand. I don't understand how you're gonna lane. You're gonna take 2 Qs to their face and then you're gonna be done. Like, I don't understand. So that's something you should look to punish, by the way. If you're on Platinum and you're versing all these noobs that don't build bots, you can punish them, okay? It's very simple. Very good.
He outdid my bad itemization, huh?
Sorry?
He outdid how badly I itemized
Yeah, he
big
did.
bots.
Yeah, did you there? Okay, walk me through this.
Yeah, so here again, I'm just again, I was trying to look to aggressively trade because he had no pots. Yeah, I missed my stun there. Yeah, this is a bad trade for me.
I actually want to quickly talk about a trading pattern on Syndra, by the way, here. Now, it's very rare that I do this. It's very rare that I will do the insta-Q into E. Unless it's a gank setup. The reason being is that it's a very mana-intensive trade.
It is, yeah.
For not much damage. There's 2 reasons here. The first one is that he's got bone plating. I'm pretty sure he... Wait, is he bone plating? Yeah, so he has bone plating. So when you verse any champion that takes resolve and they go bone plating, you never want... what you want to do first is either auto attack them once or Q once, just to proc the bone plating. Then they're going to be so much squishier after that. Never, because the way bone plating works is, again, like the subsequent damage after this initial thing will mitigate a lot of it. So this is going to do no damage, combined with the spell shield and things like that. So this is going to do no damage. More importantly, as a combo on Syndra, you very rarely want to Q into E, because what's going to happen is that you do QE, but by the time this stun hits, your Q's not going to be up. So you're not going to be able to get the... you're not going to be able to get much follow-up damage after the stun. It's very rare that you just do a QE and then that's it. Usually you do the QE and you want to Q on the back end with a W and then run away or something like that. So look what happens here. Because you do the insta QE, your Q's not actually up, so you don't get any follow-up damage. Look, QE, or even if you hit the Q, your Q's still going to be down. So generally the best trading pattern for Syndra is Q, let it sit a little bit, then E to get the stun, and then QW on the back end while they're stunned to run, and then run away. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of challenger players do that, just letting the Q sit. So yeah,
That's the reason why, because then your Q's on off cooldown.
that makes sense. Yeah.
So this is a perfect time to trade. Now that's the perfect time to trade when these aftershocks down. But yeah, use your E aggressively.
All right.
Yeah. So you're just gonna be very careful. You got to be very careful with your E usage. So it's like you're either going for a really good trade because you already proc their bone plating and things like that, or got their spell shield, or you're holding it reactively, and then Galio gets really frustrated, and then he uses E, and then imagine if you just sat here patiently, and then he uses his E like this, and then you had still had all your abilities up. You just destroy him on the back end, you know?
Right.
That's the way I view it. All right. So anyway, so in between the waves here, you get a nice little ward. Unfortunately, you don't have a pink, but
yeah.
Now, okay, one thing I need to talk about this warding location here. This ward needs to be here. This ward actually doesn't see the jungler going here, by the way. So it needs to be on this edge, because then, yeah, they can literally walk in here and you still won't see them. So always put wards on that little corner there.
Okay, got it.
He's on drag.
Here your awareness is really off. Look at bot lane.
He's on drag.
Yeah.
That was a free double. Or at least one. All blow flashes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going drag.
So what are we thinking here?
So here, Galio hasn't shown, so I'm thinking he looked for a reset. Was trying to look to go bot here, but one of them died, so I just look for my own reset here because I have my Lost Chapter buy.
Okay.
Get a pink, and yeah, or a refillable.
Gotcha.
That's what you drag.
Is that refillable?
See Silas walking here. I think here I thought they were going for drag, so my jungler decided to give and not contest that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think they actually didn't decide to go for dragon. They decided to invade my jungler's camps, which I think was the wrong decision for them, to be honest with you. So here I'm trying to I actually did notice Fiora coming here, but I didn't think it would set up a kill. So I was actually just looking to push the wave here so that maybe we could set up prio to contest drag or look for a play bot.
Right. Okay.
They're coming. They're coming.
I think that was a kill, by the way.
Mm.
If you play patient here, like, because this gully doesn't know, and then you wait, and then you QE, or even just you QR, and then you QR, then E, wait for the burn play, then QR, E, whatever, and then Fiora can chase. I'm pretty sure he dies.
Mm.
But you push him away, and then you scare him before the Fiora even shows, and then it gets a bit sketchy.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're coming. They're coming.
Okay. That's still fine for you, though. You still got everything, so.
No, they just fucking invaded me for some reason.
Okay.
Okay, so I saw Silas use his E and my
Yep.
jungler called that out, so
Yep. Nice.
go on Silas.
I like it.
Silas has no E.
Chase him out. Yep.
It's kind of a low value ward, by the way.
Over here.
I mean, the main reason is that you know the enemy jungler's dead, and you really want to maximize the time your ward's up. I mean, you don't want to use wards when you know 100% they're dead. It's just like, because you're probably going to recall after this anyway.
Right.
Or maybe not, we'll see. If you might actually stay for a plate here.
I think I look for a recall here. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. This is a GLP game, by the way. Do you ever build GLP out of interest?
No, I don't.
Have you seen my Syndra guide, by the way?
I have. Yeah, I noticed you recommend GLP.
You should really give it a go, man. It's
Yeah.
so nice. It's really, really nice. Like, it feels incredibly good into any, like, melee or champion that is very linear. Or they have, like, where you can kite. Like, you can kite a lot of these champions in this game. You should just give it a go. I'm just a massive, massive fan.
Yeah, I'll give it a try.
And it synergizes really well with Phase Rush.
Right.
Like, the way I view Comet, man, it's like, if you're not hardcore abusing your lane opponent with Comet, it's a waste. Comet is like a non-scaling, it's one of the lowest scaling runes in the game. It's not a scaling rune. It's electrocute scales better, airy scales are 10 times better, even airy scales better, I believe. It's not a good scaling rune. It's a laning rune. So that's fine if you're in a matchup that can abuse it or whatever, but just keep that in mind. All right. Again, here, no pink, but again, I guess you didn't have a choice. Actually, I just think you did. Wait, 300 plus 4. You could get. Wait, 300 plus 475 is what? 775. 775 plus 75. Yeah, you could have gotten a boots, null magic, and a pink here instead of a blasting wand. Is that the math? Does that math check out?
Yeah.
3.
No, I think if
So I'm
I
pretty sure.
I think if I was just playing with a regular jungler on my team, I probably would have gone
Mm,
that build.
mm,
But like I felt confident that like we could track
okay.
jungle together with each other, and we just killed Silas, so kind of have an idea
Okay.
of where he is. But yeah, pink would be a good buy
God,
for sure.
it's fine.
Okay. So what were you thinking here, coming out of base, out of interest? So you got you got this kill. You're 1-0. You still got your flash. Your duo. We got your duo popping. He's doing pretty good as well. What's going through your mind right now?
Um, so I noticed he got his refillable now too.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I was thinking the same thing as the time I came to the lane before. This guy hasn't used his ult once yet. He hasn't used TP,
Mm,
so I think he's just still looking for a roam. And at this point, I notice our Leona is just kind of sitting under tower. So
okay.
I have a feeling that there's more of a chance that he'll roam top at this point. But again, I'm just trying to keep like if I can't tank the wave, I'll let it crash to my tower. But I'm trying to either keep it level or pushing on his side so that he can't
Okay.
look for a roam. And the reason why I was thinking level is because I didn't have good vision control. So
Yep. We saw Silas there.
yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now what's going on here?
So here, my jungler said he's gonna solo drag or start drag. So I'm trying to push this wave out,
So
and I noticed Silas was top too. So I wanted to push this wave so that Galio can't come down. And bot had prio here, so I also just wanted to set up prio on my lane first so that I could roam down here and help my jungler,
Okay.
just in case.
yeah.
So, okay, one thing I've noticed this game. Wait, where's your chat?
Oh, I mute everybody when I play games now.
Okay.
Um,
Do you have a chat enabled though? Like, does things pop up? I haven't seen it. Or am I, oh no,
yeah,
there
yeah.
is it. Is there? Okay.
Yeah.
One thing that I've noticed this game is that your camera control is really poor. There hasn't been a single game where you haven't panned your camera onto any side lane or even your jungler. Now, you've probably heard me say this in other coaching sessions, but again, given your higher plat as well, and you're someone who's been playing the game for quite a long time, I highly recommend taking the time, investing the time, and binding your 2 buttons on the side of your mouse, MB1, MB2, to your top in your jungle, and then T is my bot lane. Because T is very close to R. I found that way better than F keys, because F keys feel so far away from me. It's really hard to use, but these are much better, much simpler. Right now, you should be looking. Okay, what's the HP of Dragon? What's Fiora doing right now? What's the bot setup? What you should just be like. There's nothing else to look at, especially in these situations where you've gotten the wave. And as well, what do we see here? If we know we're trading Dragon, take responsibility and like assess the situation and tell them to back off. Like here, if you know you're duo with your jungler and you see this top laner walk down, I would instantly pay my camera here and either ping off because you know Galio has R and gets this fight first, or if it's a free kill, it's a free kill, which I'll say on my way and I'll come back him up. But here, you don't pan your camera, you don't ping danger, nothing. You don't even see the HP of Dragon, you don't see the bot situation. I have no idea what's going on right now.
Okay.
You kind of see what I mean there? So panning camera is very important. It will help you overall communicate with pings. Just pings alone, and I'm probably going to do a video on this. Pings are probably one of the most important tools for solo queue, for carrying or just doing well and just winning games. Pings are unbelievably important. I've won games purely off pings many a times. Okay, here we go. On my way. I like it.
Nah, we can't.
Panning your camera a little bit.
Leona's AFK actually.
Okay, what you should be when you pan your camera here, a few things we should be looking at. Pan your camera. There's nothing else to look at. Just keep your camera pan there. You should be looking at, is Vayne using Q aggressively? Does Vayne have condemn? Is Vayne, you know, what summoners? I mean, you don't really know summoners at this point. I guess they haven't used any summoners. But more importantly, what's the wave situation? You know, is the wave really big? Is it really small? That sort of thing. Just assess this information.
This Leona's AFK actually.
There's no need for you to just not have your camera panned that whole time. Assess all that situation.
Yeah.
That was someone's flash there as well. Whose flash was that? Okay, it was Nami.
Yeah.
Vayne. Okay, nice.
See that movement?
I like it. Ooh. Okay, not bad.
Yeah, I think if we both ult it, we could...
So you get this. Go back mid.
Wait, did you mute everyone on
Get
this?
that.
So you
I might mute this for a little bit. It looks like you're having a conversation with you, mate. And then, okay. Wait, so you ping danger. What do you ping danger? I see you ping danger. What do you do? Missing danger, danger, danger. Is that because you're scared Galio's going to run bot?
Yeah, because I saw that Ez was trying to poke under tower,
Right.
and his Leona had backed off, so I just thought there's no reason for him to be there, and Galio just went missing on the
Okay.
map. So
Okay. Okay, not bad. You're in a decent spot. Decent spot. So you got your boots. You're probably gonna get pink. Ludens still haven't got boots. Okay. All right. I mean, something you need to also think about, by the way, with Syndra is that Syndra's a champion that any skill shot oriented champion that has high range. Boots are just important in general. Boots are not only good for versing skill shot oriented champions, they're good for playing them because it allows you to tether, it allows you to get in range, use the ability, and get out. Just no boots feels so bad, man. Like no boots, especially versus Galio as an immobile mage, is just it feels really bad. You need at least tier 1 boots at a minimum. There, I probably actually would have stayed in base. By the way, I actually think I probably would have stayed in base here for tier 1 boots. I think. Oh, it's close. Really, really close. I actually think, you know what's so fascinating here as well is that this is actually influenced, that first cruddy base that you did is actually influenced this. Because you would have either had tier 1 boots or you wouldn't have had spent that extra 50 gold on that second pot.
yeah,
Which
I
is
see that.
pretty funny, but
It's unfortunate.
yeah. But anyway, come back. What do we see? Galio has a bit of a move here, bit of tempo on you. Assessing the situation, make sure you see which side he leans. I like it. There he is.
Can't play bot side though.
Silas top. Actually, one thing I did not touch on at all. Do you duo often, by the way?
Recently I have, but I usually play solo queue. It's just more recently I've been starting to duo with one of my friends.
I'll quickly touch on this purely because you've been playing duo. If you're in a position in this game, your top lane's actually been doing really well this game. I believe your top lane's actually had pressure most of the time, is winning the matchup. You're doing quite fine, man, especially now you got 1 kill. You should always be prioritizing Rift Herald as much as you can. Rift Herald is the duo. It is the most important thing when snowballing games. So, after this here, after you get this kill here, I believe. So you get this kill. Graves should be resetting right now. He shouldn't be getting these camps unless, does it get him warrior? Maybe it gets him warrior. Let's see if he comes back. How much gold does he have? I'm assuming it gets him warrior. Okay. instead of going out of base here, he needs to go straight to Rift Herald, in my opinion. Like, Rift Herald is... Yes, dragons are good, but Rift Herald is what is going to allow you to snowball the game. And the reason Rift Herald is so good as a duo is if you guys get this Rift Herald, which you're going to use your top lane's pressure, you have pressure, you're going to get pressure mid if your jungler's here anyway. The main reason it's good is if you make a play on a side lane or make a 2v2 kill or whatever it is, it's twice as threatening because you can actually just Rift Herald on the back end and get so much more. But if you trade, let's say you trade Dragon for Rift Herald here. Silas actually does that. If you make a bot play, Silas can go top, and if they get the kill on Fiora, they also get the kill plus plates with the Rift. So it's really scary to verse, and it's basically your way of snowballing a game to a victory a lot of the time when you're duo. So keep that in mind. Just probably talk about that with your duo. Like, prioritize Rift Herald as much as you can.
Right.
Okay. You really need to get this wave out, man. You can get this wave out much more efficiently. So now your jungler's topside. You just pan your camera, lean over here onto topside, wait for the wave to settle. Then you can Q. You can do the Q here or the Q here, then pick them up, and then, you know, you can QE when your Q's up again, QE through the entire thing. You got to get this wave as soon as possible. Your jungler's topside, looking to do something aggressive. This is it. Lean topside, beautiful. Get your pink out on topside. I don't mind that. I think Dot's a little better, but it's not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Graves goes top. Like it. Flash. Yes, so Flash is really big.
He's looking bot. I'm gonna shove this.
So here I was looking to stop Galio from ulting down there, but then my jungler just told me let's just push mid.
Imagine if you have Rift here, by the way.
Yeah. Would have been big.
That's what I'm talking about. Every play you make. Now Silas, and if Silas has Rift and changes the game a bit. And he actually breaks bot. Oh, he nearly, I think it's very close. That happens.
Keep pushing.
On that.
Okay. Well, given that you've got these, you've got the tower this low, you should 100% be prioritizing the next Rift, because then you're going to be able to get the tower. They have it here. He flashes. Okay.
No. You can one shot him, but he's like 10.
I swear you could have killed him here.
Yeah.
Like, again, you're rushing to use your QE combo. Like, you need to stop doing this. Like, you should only use your QE combo if you're going for the kill. The way I like to view it is, like, imagine this. You want this guy to stick around. You're in a really good spot right now. You got Ludens, you got ult, you got everything. If you use your QE combo, right? And let's just say you use your QE combo with the intention that you're not going to go for the 100-0 play, just to get a good chunk off. A decent amount of the time, this person's going to be like, oh, I'm actually really low now. I'm just going to base. Sometimes you actually want to hold onto your burst and toy with them so they actually stay in lane a little bit longer. And then you use your E for the one shot. So now when you've actually used your E for poke or whatever, it just does nothing. All it's doing is scaring the opponent off. And then you have to wait for the 10 seconds to have legitimate kill threat back. So in this situation, if I'm in a good situation like this, I just Q, play slow. Then if Galio actually stays, then I actually walk up, I actually QR E, and then he just dies, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
With Ignite. But you're gonna scare him off here, I believe. It's like, you know what the example is? It's like, did you ever play Pokemon when you're like a kid?
Yeah.
And you know when like you have to get the Pokemon really low, but if you get them too low, like they just die to like catch them. It's the same thing.
Good example.
Yeah, that's just a little Syndra thing. Just knowing your limits. Again, it's pretty average ward. Okay.
Dude, fuck Fiona, man.
Oh, I hate that flash.
Yo,
Yeah.
I hate this. Oh, main.
The only TP there.
Nice E. There we go. Not bad. Flash. You should be timing these flashes, man.
Damn.
Yeah.
At least Galio flash.
Kinda pins.
At least Galio flash. If you're doing the flash play on Syndra, it's very rare that you flash QE. The only time you do flash plays is if you're flash Ring, then Eing. It's too hard otherwise to do this. It's super unreliable. Like, you have no idea if this guy has flash or not, do you?
Yeah.
Then you're just going to be trading flash for flash. Your flash is so valuable on Syndra, by the way. It is unbelievably valuable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's very rare you want to do that. So not bad, not too bad. You probably want to recall here. I don't think there's a need to stay. Now you're just going to give tempo over to Galio. He comes back. Again, that didn't change anything. If you think about it, look. You had 1600 gold here? What does that extra Am Tomb do? At the end of the day. You gave a whole Am Tomb, you get a whole Am Tomb, but he gets massive tempo. I don't know. I don't really think that's valuable, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, you should be going Mercs this game. Or Sorks into Banshees, but I think that Mercs are just way better since they have so much hard CC.
Yeah.
Okay, Galio moves away. You get a pink ward, nice. Next objective, Dragon, beautiful. Galio Graves is going to be a bit late. Get this wave in.
I think I die here. I don't remember. I might die here.
Hmm.
Wow, they're both equally bad.
Pink ward there.
They have no cooldowns.
Alright, Rift Herald's coming up very soon. You want to be playing for Rift here.
He's baiting, but he's still winning.
Just play slow.
What?
Again, these combos, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember this. I die here because of that. Yeah, he flashed onto me.
One thing you gotta remember here as well, by the way, is that, like, you don't have flash. You don't have, 100% or most likely Silas is topside here. Even, like, using E like this, you missed the E, you gotta get the hell out. You're useless.
Yeah.
I just feel like this is, rather than looking at this in isolation, the way I like to view this is like, you're not thinking about how you should progress this game right now. Because what this says to me a lot of the time is like, it's like, all right, I don't know what else to do. I'm just gonna like go for some like aggressive trade. Like, you're not thinking about, oh, okay, I just need to get pressure here. Rift Herald's coming up soon. Let Graves go finish his 2 top camps, get a bit of vision control top side, and then we can do something. And like, I feel like here, you're just compensating because your jungler's in the area, and you're like, all right, I'm just going to go for some crazy trade. Let's go. But it's not even, that, yeah, I don't know, it just feels really forced. It feels very forced.
Yeah. I definitely felt pretty overconfident here. That QE was not ideal.
I think you need to slow it down. Like, I just, this whole time, the way you've played Syndra, it's really, really, you're self-sabotaging in a way. And I think you need to rethink, have another think about Syndra's kit and her identity. Her E, you have to remember, your E is your only form of self-peel, okay? You got to be, and you have no blue buff here. You've got Comet. You're playing for poke. He's got a full shield here. He's got bone plating. Like, going for a full QE combo here, it's very low value. It's just a very, very low value use of abilities. You're going to be vulnerable. And this is how you do it, right? This is how you use your QE combo on this Galio, right? And you blow that shield or whatever. It's like, then what? Then you're going to have to respect the entire time that this is off cooldown. You're going to have not much mana, and then they're just going to be able to play for the wave. So it's just like,
Right.
it doesn't do much. The way I like to do it is play way slower. And you got to keep into account that having your E up is a form of threat. And I always like looking at that I always like using that boxing analogy. It's like, in boxing, the boxers don't just always swing because they're going to make themselves vulnerable. What's scary about boxers is that it's like, if they know that if I overextend and fully swing and I miss, I'm going to probably get uppercut and knocked out. It's the same thing with Syndra. Holding E, there's an inherent amount of threat in holding this ability, because this Galio knows, if Syndra's holding E and just slow poking me with Q and Q and Q and Q, I can never really engage because Syndra has E. If I overextend and take a sloppy engage, I get punished on the back end. And I can never really set up a gank because she has E as well. So this can sometimes, using your E intelligently is incredibly important, and it literally changes what this champion can do into you. And I feel like at this point, you've also got to realize, like, I don't think that you necessarily want to be heavy trading right now, purely because you don't have flash, your top lane is dead, your jungler needs to go back to top camps, you want to play for Rift Herald. Ideally, you actually want to be quite healthy and just play for priority, play for vision control topside, and just chill. So there's a combination of a few things here. It's a combination of knowing your next move, but more importantly, understanding your identity as a champion, especially when you don't have flash. Does that make sense? Does that resonate with you at all? Or?
It does. Yeah. I think here I felt pretty overconfident that my Graves is here, and
Yeah.
I was just kind of autopiloting here and just playing
Yeah.
aggressive for no reason.
Because that's what I've seen as a trend this entire game. This entire game, the way you've used your abilities have been quite sloppy and have got you into sticky situations. And or just miss, or either just straight up miss solo kill opportunities. Because you know what's fascinating? This whole game, considering you're been doing pretty well, between you and your jungler, you guys haven't really translated your lead to any side.
Yeah.
Think about it. You haven't. Fiora's been an isolated 1v1 top basically the entire game. Bot's just done bot things. Yes, you've got 2 dragons, but you've lost to Rift Herald. It's very rarely that you've actually been in the opposite side of the jungle and actually influenced the side lane. And this is all because of the way you've actually traded in lane has been quite poorly, and the usage of your E. You haven't put a value on identifying the strong side this game and playing towards the strong side and playing around the objectives that are good for you. Like, if we go all the way back here, so you take this somewhat decent trades. This is after you get this kill, even a little bit earlier than this, to be honest with you. Here, you come back, you get your lost chapter. This is go time right now. So right now, this is where you should be thinking, okay, what are we playing for? What side are we playing towards? Right now, we know that bot's actually in a pretty rough spot right now, but we know Fiora's going quite well versus Ignite Yasuo, who's extremely vulnerable. And Rift Herald's coming up in a minute 15 right now. Either you're going for Dragon now, which you can't do, or we want to play for topside, influence this topside, get this Fiora snowballing. Now, there's just... Yes, you haven't got a kill yet, so it's hard to do that, but it just is good to think about in terms of what side you want to get vision on. But you do get, and this was another missed opportunity, by the way, purely because a lack of awareness of your top laner, but more importantly, just a poor usage of your E. Same thing. You should be looking to Q first, proc that bone plating, proc that shield off, and then chase on the back end. Even if you didn't want to go for the gank setup, you can even just Q here, proc the shield, proc the bone plating, then after QE, and you can even maybe chase down for a kill. If you had phase rush, you could maybe even chase down for a kill, that sort of thing, or even just get a really, really nice trade. But anyway, this happens, you miss another kill opportunity. This happens, you do get the kill, beautiful. This was really, really good. You get this wave out. Now, we end up, instead of playing for Rift, we end up playing for bots. The only downside as well is if you play on the side of your losing side and get the dragon, there's no follow-up play. You can't like vertical jungle because your bot lane's kind of losing. If you were to get Rift here, you could probably easily commit to the vertical jungle and set up a dive on this Yasuo. You see that as well? Because your Fiora was actually taking good trades this game. That's the other benefit of taking the objective onto your strong side. You can do something. So if your bot lane is hard winning, right, 2v2, and they're just building waves or they're just taking really good trades, after you get this dragon, your jungler most likely is going to be able to potentially contest these Krugs, maybe these Raptors, or look into this red buff, get a deep wolf, something like that, which may enable you to hard lean onto bot side and potentially look for a dive, especially if the jungle shows top side. Conversely, if you do this on the top side, you get that Rift Herald, and then your jungler, the enemy jungler ganks bot or gets dragon, you guys can just fully commit to trade sides of the map, go for these camps, and look for a dive onto this Yasuo. So that's what we call trading sides of the map. And trading sides of the map is good and bad, but if you're a drawer or in high elo games, trading sides of the map is just the way to play the game because if you're confident and on the same page and actually get one side really far ahead, and especially if you're doing it on the Rift Herald side, you get way more. Because if Silas goes bot and kills bot, but you get Rift Herald and kill top, you get the towers and you get this space. You end up getting this tower, creating a really long lane for this Fiora to push all the way deep. This allows you to get all these camps a lot more, and then the game just booms. Okay?
Yeah.
So there's all these little things here. You guys, considering you guys were ahead in this decision, in this game, there really wasn't many things done to translate your lead. And I feel like a combination of a lot of these things of, individual stuff, and blowing your flash here as well, which was really, really big. Because then, again, blowing the flash here results in you probably dying here. You would have survived. That's another thing as well. So it's all the small things that add up to create. That's what the way League is, and especially at the high elo. It's all the small details that add up to either put you into a favorable position or unfavorable position. And that's the way I like to view it is like, okay, it's like decision 1, decision 2, decision 3, and then the fourth thing is like massive. Tick, 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 and this is a really big win. So it's all the small wins lead to a big win, and then conversely, it's all the like a small loss, a small loss, a small loss into a big loss. And this is what we're looking at here. The big loss. And you give a shutdown to the Silas. And they end up killing Galio. You come back. You get the tower, which is really, really big. Now this is much better. Graves going into the top side. Ideally, though, waiting for you, to be honest. And they probably shouldn't be looking for a fight here. That happens. Okay. Does everything I say make sense, by the way? Or am I going... Just let me know if I'm going too deep or talking about too much stuff.
No, this makes sense. Yeah, everything you said I resonate with.
I don't think we contest.
Cool. Okay, what's going on here?
Go bot, let us go mid.
Yeah, now you're gonna let Ez go mid, so you go bot here. Graves is hovering you top side.
So I actually feel very uncomfortable in these situations where I have to go side lane.
Okay.
And like,
Nami.
I don't know. I just don't feel. Okay, we can talk about that. But I just don't feel safe when I go to the sideline as a control mage. And I feel like I lose a lot of CS because of that.
Okay. Well, let's talk about it then. So, generally, as Syndra, she's very rarely a champion that wants to... Okay, this is why I like Phase Rush, firstly. Like, if the game doesn't go according to plan and you don't hardcore punish, this is why generally, as well, you see Comet, I think, is a very high skill cap summoner in the sense of Rune. Sorry, it's you view it two ways. It's easier to execute in laning phase, but it comes at a cost because if you don't abuse it enough, your mid game's trash. This is the problem I've actually found with this specific setup on Syndra, where you go Ludens into the traditional Morellos with Comet. Like, I just don't feel like I scale hard enough to carry. Like, yes, I can get leads, and I do fine, but I don't feel like I translate my lead into a win. I don't know about you, but that's how I feel a lot of the time, because this exact thing happens. My bot lane loses or something that happens, I get forced to the side lane, I'm on this, like, this exact spike where I've got Ludens and I'm working towards my Oblivion Orb. And even when I get my Oblivion Orb, I'm getting it so late that it's such a crappy spike anyway. Like, I just don't like this situation at all. And I don't even know my identity. Because am I playing just front-to-back fights? And if I'm playing front-to-back fights, then my build setup doesn't make sense for front to back fights because I'm not going to have Leandries. I don't have Gathering Storm, and I don't have Phase Rush. But if I'm playing for Burst, this isn't even it's going to be hard for me to even get, this build isn't even optimal for Burst. If I wanted Burst, then I'd probably go, I would want Spellbinder, and a lot more raw AP. So, you can kind of see why I'm very critical of this specific setup, unless you have a game plan or you're in a very easy matchup where you can hardcore punish. This specific setup is great into like Cassio, right? Where it's a low range matchup, easy to punish. You could probably utilize your Ignite and probably get some solo kills. But Galio is kind of unreliable in my opinion. But anyway, talking about mid game, this is one or two things happens here. If you're duo, this exact thing is quite good, where your jungler hovers you, he kind of goes into here, protects you, and then if a fight breaks out, you can kind of fight because it's like that you're gonna have the man advantage because your jungler is here. And this is gonna allow you to get that bot tower. But if your bot lane's kind of losing and say they're mid lane, they're actually not getting pressure, it's actually better if you just catch this one wave, then walk back up the river and try and like either use your vision or with your jungler and you to kind of clear a bit of vision, get a bit of pressure, exert a bit of pressure, then get a bit of control, then use that control to safely get this tower and push a little bit deeper. So it's all about like as a mage that doesn't want to specifically sit in the side lane. It's a lot of pushing and grouping, like pushing, catching waves, grouping. But if you don't need to group and you're already getting priority, you've already got that vision control and there's no objective to fight over, then you can probably stay a little bit longer knowing you got that safety from your team, and then you can actually push it all the way deep. Where the difference between games where you get a lot of farm in the mid game and where you don't get much at all is the amount of waves that you can push. If you can push, say you get this tower here, and say how the wave crashes in the middle. Let's say it's 50-50, like deadpan in the middle, from both sides. If you push one wave, what's going to happen? The next wave is going to crash, and it's probably going to be down here. It's not going to fully get pushed in all the way to that tier 2. If you want to be ahead, like be CSing well in mid game, you actually got to get this one wave and the next wave as well. And you can only do that if you have your team hovering you and you got plenty of vision.
Yeah.
Where you can get behind is when you only get maybe one of the waves, and then you have to group, and then the next wave sits down here, dies to the enemy team, and then you kind of just, do nothing. Then it's hard. So in this situation, it looks kind of good, in the sense that the only thing here is that your jungler's hovering you. But what's the main problem here? Your mid lane is actually no one's showing on mid right now.
Yeah.
So this is a bit of a red flag. No one's showing on mid right now. And this is actually why and this is actually something I've kind of been, it's like, it's a competitive thing. It's from competitive, because mid wave, as soon as the mid game hits, whoever gets first move off mid wave, they are generally the team that sets the tone and sets the precedence of the game. Right now, look what happens here. So Vayne, Anami, or Galio, they're kind of sitting around mid. And then no one shows mid because they must see you bot, and they're like, all right, we're just going to go. And maybe they see Graves on a ward or whatever. I don't know. But when no one shows mid, this is a red flag. Because remember, we want vision here. This is what we need in order to push this. If you don't have this control here, it's very rare that you can get this tower unless you know 100% they're topside or your jungler's here and like, they're not coming. Which you just got to have a feel for the game, or you have some other, or they've reset or something like that. But in this situation, you don't know that. No one's showing on mid wave. You haven't got this control here, this vision control. Here. So this is very risky.
Yeah. This is a massive throw now that I see it like this. Yeah.
So this is why, as a mid laner in the side lane, your mind and your vision, you should always be looking mid. What's going on mid? Who has first move off mid wave? So number one, if I'm in the side lane, this is what I'm thinking. Number one, what's happening mid, right? Who gets first push off mid wave? Does the enemy get first push off mid wave? Oh, okay. That probably means I don't have river control, which means I probably can't be here. If my team gets pushed off the wave, it's like, cool. That means they're going to be having to catch the wave down here. The enemy's catching the wave down here, which means my team's going to be hovering me down here. And I know they're going to be on vision on the minions around here, which means I can easily get this tier 1, and I can probably push it a little bit deeper. Then I start to take into account my jungle's location. Is he hovering me? Or if he's topside all the way up here, then I probably can't push. Then maybe I need to get this one wave and then maybe go back, get a jungle camp, group with the team, whatever, play around objective. Conversely, the last point is no one's showing mid, which means they've either reset or they're just straight ditching the wave to make a play in the side lane. And in this point, you look at mid wave, no one's showing mid. You don't have the information that they've recalled, so you got to be very, very careful right now.
Darius coming to try.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
And then and this is massive. Because now, what happens is that your Ezreal has pushed off mid, and you guys should be respecting. All you do is wait. You wait for your mid lane. Then what happens is that either they lose the farm here, and your Ezreal starts to get quite far ahead, or they ditch and waste time, you know? They're going to ditch and waste time. So you always have to play around this mid wave. Mid game is all about mid wave. That's all it is. Whoever gets mid wave. And now, this is so annoying for Ezreal. He gets the wave in, but you guys are just fighting without him. And that's what happens. They get the man advantage fight because they know Ezreal's on mid wave.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really big. And now this is where Syndra starts to fall off the face of the earth, by the way. Because you haven't got far enough ahead and your build doesn't scale into these champions. And you have no defensive capability because you have no Mercs, no Cleanse, no Phase Rush. And you have Ignite, which is a laning thing, which hasn't really got you far enough ahead. And now you've died twice. And you're going to fall far behind a farm. Galio's going to be more useful than you. And then... yeah, you're in a sticky situation. Really sticky situation. This has nothing to do with Ezreal. Like, this is what happens, right? I get people in my Discord. It's like, oh, look at my bot lane. They, like, died and lost me the game. No, you guys lost the... You guys lost the game. This is all on you.
Same thing, yeah.
You know what I mean? This is why people don't... This is why most players... why I don't like venting on my channels. Because they don't understand how they contributed to the loss. It's so easy for you guys to say here, oh yeah, my bot, my AD carry's on here. What is he doing? Look at this mid lane. Ha ha ha. Dude, you gotta adapt to the situation. You didn't adapt. Because our immediate response is always shift the blame onto the AD carry or whoever's not at the fight. But you gotta adapt, man. So yeah, and now the game's very, very hard at this point, like for you. I mean, yeah, you can still win and you can play around this this Fiora. But the problem is you have not played around this Fiora the entire game. So you haven't really set him up to carry. And he's actually died now a few times. So you've actually got very little win con at this point. Unfortunately. Now, as it gets into this point of the game, this is where Syndra, you have to play around objectives. Your side lane's kind of average. I'm pretty sure you lose. I mean, you're still fine actually into Galio 1v1, but 2v2 is a bit sketchy. Purely because you get bursted. Now your bot lane's really far behind. The only way you guys are going to win this game is if you can somehow get this burst down onto this Vayne. And you kind of control the objective first and make them face check you. Because you can actually burst this Silas as well if you get a full combo as well. So they're actually kind of squishy if you can avoid this Galio. Now, what's interesting is that... What do we see here? Baron in a minute. And this Dragon's in 2 minutes. If you guys fully commit to bot side here and get control around this dragon side, yes, it's good because it's actually third dragon for you, but you got to be careful because they can actually sneak Baron quite easily. So you got to keep that in mind here. So generally around 20 minutes as well, you should be probably swapping to blue trinket.
Yep.
In mid game, you shouldn't really have yellow anymore.
Yeah, I saw that in one of your coaching videos, so I started using it. Yeah.
Okay, so look at this situation. So your jungler's hovering you, okay, but your mid lane's getting pushed in. And you're so lucky that this mid tower is still up. It's massive, by the way. This is the only reason you're still in the game, you know. Because what would be happening right now if this mid tower was down is that they would get him pushed to here, and then they would probably be walking over here. So this is actually massive. So you got this wave out. What I would actually do right now, I would probably walk up over here first and get a bit of vision down with your team. Before committing to this tower, in my opinion.
Right.
Okay, we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, this looks like the same situation from last time.
The only problem here as well is you're fully committing to bot side when Baron's up. If you and the junglers are here, they can just Baron right now. They Baron right now. Because you have no TP, Baron's up at 20 minutes. Like I said, like, if you both, especially if you both show, if you just show, it's not too bad because Grace hasn't showed, but even then, it's super risky. Look what's happening right now. Look at that. Notice how they got first push off mid, so they're moving down. Yes, you got the wave, so it's not too bad, but now you have to 100% group right now.
Right.
Okay. Vayne shows bot. Beautiful. So the lane assignments are screwed, so Vayne should not be bot right now. That should be Galio. So this is time to force. They're catching waves in the side lane. This is perfect timing. So when you get this wave out, your default response... Is it Alex?
Yeah.
Alex? When you do this wave out, as soon as someone reacts... This is the point of pushing out side waves. This is how you create man advantage fights. This is how you actually win. Is that you get this wave out, they react, and now you go. This is where you get control. Okay? Or look for a pick, or force a fight. Because now it's man advantage. Vayne to the side. Their strongest member. Go, go, go. I'd walk up. Fight. Go, go, go. Nice. Okay, get next mid wave. Into dragon. Beautiful. Nice.
Yeah, this is bad for me. I remember this.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't like the usage of that E at all. I really don't. Again, you want to be holding your E, remember, for like important... Your E's down for 8 seconds now. Oh, you stood in the gully. Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really bad.
And your E's down the whole time, so you couldn't self-peel because you wasted it.
Yeah.
There, you would have been able to QE. Or just E. Away him away, right there. But you wasted it. So
Yeah.
again, notice that's all the small details, man. And you would have survived. It's just all the small details, man.
Yeah, that's painful.
Painful experiences. That's why it's how you change. And in these situations, you want to take it much slower, dude. It's fine. You don't need to force this fight right now. This is not good for your champion. Syndra is terrible at chasing, you know. Syndra is very terrible at chasing. If you want people to come into you, right? This is where Syndra wants... So it's fine. If no fight happens, you don't need to force a fight. You let Fiora go in the split. He has TP advantage. Let Fiora go bot. You go mid and control top side. There's no need to force a fight here at all.
Yeah, my thought process here was just that like we were letting our lead slip a little bit, and like going into this, like after we got dragged, I saw that Nami was still down, and I wanted to try to force a fight here, especially because our Leona was just AFKing the entire game. But
like, it's fine to look for a fight, but again, you don't want to force in the sense that you're using your E ridiculously aggressively.
yeah,
If they come into you and the fight happens, it's great, but you don't need to force. I actually think here you still win the fight anyway, even if you just don't get knocked up here and you play it slow. I'm pretty sure you just hardcore win.
yeah.
So yeah, it's just micro there. And then, I mean, that's been 2 throws now in mid game from you, which leads him to Baron. Let's see what happens here actually. Nice. Oh, okay. I get Baron. Yeah.
Yeah, at this point, Vayne and Yasuo just start
Yeah.
to scale and get out of
Yeah,
control.
Yasuo's got 2 items. Yeah. Okay. 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 I mean, I think I've seen enough, to be honest.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think I've seen enough. So, there's a lot in this one, Alex. There really is. There's a lot of little things. And again, sometimes this is the way these sessions pan out, and it does make sense given that you are more of a veteran player. It wasn't going to be like massively obvious stuff, although the mid game was pretty massively obvious, and some of these Syndra micro are pretty obvious. I think there's a lot of little things that can add up to some big changes between your rune optimizations, your build optimizations, your E usage optimization, camera panning, assessment of the next objective for you guys, the usage of your vision, buying more pink wards, playing towards just what's it called, identifying. Like, there's just so many little things we covered in this one that really add up. Like, to be honest, I'm actually surprised. Like, no offense, I'm actually surprised that you have a 57% win rate. I think this is because your micros is just good. Like, your micro overall is quite good. This says to me that if it's already 57% and you make these adjustments, like, you're going to be absolutely popping off because you actually have the micro to be able to pull off this champion. Not many players I coach actually have the micro ability to pull off this champion. I believe you do, which is a good sign. I just think hopefully this coaching session really kind of allowed you to understand a lot more about Syndra's identity and the way you want to navigate a game. If in terms of steps moving forward, like what I would focus on first. This is probably a session, by the way, you're going to have to watch over a few times. I think there's a lot in here.
Yeah.
That will keep you going for a long time in terms of learning objectives. But if I were to say that the priorities, what are the priorities this game? I would probably say straight up champion, like the trading or your E usage is something that what I would actually do is make a sticky note and say E usage and combo usage. And after all my Syndra games, look at the replay and obviously record my VODs with OBS and actually look at the replay while I'm in queue or something and only look at the combos, look at just your combos and your E usage. What you'll find is that you'll actually be able to see, oh, okay, here, this was a good E. Should I have used E here? I want to replicate this. I don't want to replicate this. You'll start to refine the usage of your E over time. You won't be able to refine the usage of your E over time if you don't spend the time reviewing it. And I actually worked with one of my pro players that I used to do. He was a jungler and he played Trundle. And we literally spent an entire night for like 6 hours only looking at Trundle pillars.
Wow.
Trundle pillars, that's it. And then his Trundle pillars became insane. His ganks became so much better. And it basically opened up the champion for him. And at the pro level, that's all you do. But given Syndra E is such a big ability, it's really big. It's similar to Trundle E. It's actually really, really big ability. I highly recommend putting a lot of time into that. The next thing I would say is, I think, itemization. I would really want you to be pretty big on like looking at your itemization after each game, because I think I don't know if that will take much time. I think that'll be quite a quick fix. But specifically your first bases, they've been quite average, which put you into some sticky situations. Other than that, I would probably say the next thing is, because those things might be quite easy. The next thing I would say is actually sideline awareness. There was not a single, I mean, from what I can see, I might be wrong, but from what I can see, there was very little thought towards the side lanes. Which side was winning, which side was losing, and what are you going to do with your lead to win this game? And you can get away with just playing Syndra with Comet and Ignite, getting a solo kill and winning the game. That's fine. But what you'll find as you start to get a bit higher elo, that doesn't work anymore, because you're not going to be reliably able to get solo kills.
Right.
Because you're going to even out in terms of skill level. You're just going to be on par. And yes, they're going to, in champion mastery, people are going to understand how to minimize. You're going to get leads, but it might not lead to solo kills. This is where you might need to start adapting away from Comet and Ignite. I don't know. Keep trying it. If it works, it works. But keep that in mind. But more importantly, just sideline awareness. Especially once you get that kill. So once you get this kill here, think, oh, are we playing for rifts? What side are we playing towards? Where do I want to put my vision? What's the winning side? How are we going to win this game? Because Syndra is not a champion. Unless you're playing the hardcore scaling build that I talk about in my guide, you're not a 1v9 champion. You're not. You're not Cassio. You're not Azir. You're not Victor. You're not Orianna. You have to push the pace of the game. That's the way Syndra works. Especially with this setup. So you got to look, and what that will do, even if you are scaling, it's a good habit to get into, because given you're a Zed player, this will probably level up your Zed as well. You'll level up any champion you play, it will help you decide to either trade off objectives, knowing you can't contest it because your bot lane's losing. So it's like, all right, cool, we can't contest dragon, that's fine. Let's play the top side. That's my winning side. Let's play for this. Let's get rid of this jungle case. Let's get deeper vision on this side. Let's pink this side. Let's potentially hover in between waves here so I can get this kill. Or maybe you hardcore lean onto the side that's winning, so you know that ward will never die, which is going to allow you to play really aggressive in mid, knowing that ward and dot brush is going to sit there forever. So I would say just sideline awareness is a big one for you to work on. Literally, who's winning, what side's winning, and that will tie in together with the use of your mouse button keys or F keys, whatever you want to call them, camera panning.
Right.
So I would say that's a good start. Those few things would be a really, really good start, and then you can start to go through this VOD and pinpoint all the other things. And I think there is one thing after that, once you feel like that's a habit, jungle awareness in terms of your jungler. I didn't talk about it this one because I don't think you got punished for it, but there was when I was asking you what was going on in the game, there was not once that you said, look, I was here, I was aware because my jungle was resetting, I had to chill. Because in this situation, like here, for example, so you reset, and you didn't reset at the same time as your jungler, which is a big problem, right? I mean, sometimes you can't do anything about it, it happens, but you have to be aware of it. And what happens when I asked you what you were doing here, you got back to lane, you didn't mention at all is, oh yeah, my jungler hadn't reset yet, so I had to just play a little bit careful because my vision was expiring, I didn't have a pink ward, and my jungler was it's just after these Krugs was going to recall, come back onto the map. You didn't talk about that at all, and which is a very important thing for a mid laner, especially if you're playing Syndra, because she requires control to play aggressive. Okay, so that's another thing that you didn't get punished for this game, but I'm assuming it is a reason that you do get punished in other games.
Yeah.
Jungle awareness of your own jungler is even more important than the enemy jungler. Keep that in mind. Okay, very, very important. And that might be, you might actually, upon review, because you know your own gameplay better, you might actually find that is the learning objective that might be better suited to you, to be honest. I'm not sure, but I would have a think about over those few points, and because you know yourself better than me. I've only watched this one VOD, but they're definitely good starting points.
Got it.
Do you have any questions, Alex?
Yeah, just two questions. So,
Sure.
where do you recommend, like, let's say I'm in this position and I'm against a jungler who can level 2 gank. What time do you recommend I ward, and where do you suggest I ward?
Level 2 ganking there's not many of them. It's either Twitch, Shake, or Jarvan, or Zinzao, right?
Right.
I recommend either warding level 1 on the ramp, like here,
Mm-hmm.
like warding there on the ramp, or warding level 1 on the Raptors or whatever, but the ramp's completely fine. Or just literally just waiting, get shoved in as the wave bounces out, then you can ward after.
Okay.
Because but against level 2 junglers specifically, the level 1 ward is very valuable, but you don't verse them too often. But for level 3 ganking, which is the majority of them, I like to ward it around 2. Have you watched my jungle tracking fundamentals video?
Not in depth.
I highly recommend that you watch my jungle tracking fundamentals video. It's one of my best videos, I think, for all mid laners. It's very in depth, but I highly, highly recommend it. And I talk about the importance of warding around this time here, around 2:30, because most junglers get into river around 2:40. So as most mid laners, what I try to do, I try to ward around this time here, between 2:25 to 2:35. I really want to have a ward in dot push, because at 2:40 they can be level 3 and walk into river.
All right. Got it. And then the second question I had was, you talked about that you're gonna make a video on pinging, but I'm finding a lot in my games, like when I know there's one right decision, and I'm constantly pinging my team to either back off or let them know that I'm on my way. There's a lot of cases where they just don't listen to my pings. So I guess I'm just not sure what I'm supposed to do in that situation. If I'm supposed to just give off the play or just keep going for it and hope my team follows. If you notice, like there's one time here where my duo was getting invaded and our Leona just had to come up a lot earlier, but she just wasn't responding to our ping. So I just
Yeah.
don't know what to do in that situation.
I mean, at the end of the day, there's 2 points to that. First one is that solo queue. I mean, you get sometimes it's like the numbers game. The way my whole mindset with solo queue is the numbers game. If you do the right things over a large series of games, you will have more success than you would have otherwise.
Yeah.
Right? So I would say 75% of the time the pings will work out well. There's probably going to be like 20, 25, 20% of the time will they still ignore you. But I would still rather do it than not do it because it's probably going to help me a lot more than it isn't. And that's why with solo queue. It's like if I do the right thing, I might not win every game. You're not going to win every game. That's how it works. Not even pro players can win every single game. But you win a lot more than you lose. That's for sure. And that's how climbing works. It's a numbers game. And then the second point is that sometimes you have to adapt. So let's just say this is why camera panning is so important. So let's just say you're saying you're on your way. Like you got a good roam opportunity, but then your support isn't like positioning or he goes in too early or whatever. That's where you pan your camera, you walk halfway, and then you stop, and then you can just turn back around. That's where you can actually just adapt. So your initial plan didn't work, but you look at the situation, the plan didn't go right, and then you adapt and you just go back mid. You don't compensate and continue to go even though the plan didn't work out. That's what I do sometimes. Like I'm a bit stubborn, but adaptation, that's where kind of adaptation comes into play as well.
Got it.
Which comes with game sense and over time. I wouldn't worry too much about that, but as long as you're getting in the habit of the intention is there and you see the play and you're calling the plays and you're really trying to utilize pings, you will find that it will positively impact your matches for sure.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, other than that, Coach, appreciate the series that you're doing. I definitely think climbing is a mental thing. I think ever since muting a lot of people on my team and not kind of participating in the chat, it's been helping me climb a lot. And with these coaching sessions, I'm just hoping to optimize the small things, as you said, and hopefully get out of plat.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of stuff there, so make sure you go back over it a few times. And if you have any more questions about the runes and things like that, let me know. And then also, what I urge you to do is because I believe League of Legends is a game of feel. I want you to try all these different setups. Try the Electrocute Ignite. Try the Phase Rush with TP. Try the Phase Rush with Ghost. Try it with Exhaust. Try the Comet with Ignite. Try all of them with Time Warp and Corrupting Pot secondaries. Try it with D-Ring and Dominate. As long as you try them, I want you to feel the difference. Because if I sit here and tell you, it's a completely different ball game if you feel it for yourself. Okay?
Totally.
So over the next week, just try them all and see what feels best for you. Because the way you play Syndra, this is very aggressive. Maybe you're just skill gapping people and you don't get heavy traded on and you don't need the corrupting pot. I don't know, but yeah, that's just the way runes go. As long as you understand the trade-offs, that's what I'm here to do, is make sure you understand the trade-offs.
Yeah, I definitely think playing ADC, I've brought over that micro intensity over to the mid lane, and definitely the lack of map awareness is something that I brought over too. But yeah, I just got to work at it. I think
about it, man.
Yeah,
you're doing well. You're doing really well. I think you're on the climb, and doesn't look like you're stopping. You've got a solid win rate. Stick to the champs you know. None of this. Down here you attempted Vladimir, you attempted Oriana, you attempted some other champs, but I think just stick with your pool. You're going quite well.
Yeah.
Avoid some of the silence here. But yeah, you're doing well, man. Just got to keep it up.
All right. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Right. No problem, man. Thanks for the session, Alex, and I'll get this uploaded in the next day or two.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
You too, man. Catch up.